and worst case scenario, you're still going to have access to what I have at the end of the session. So just to recap what was emailed, today is Angular, just building the Angular part of our job tracking application. Next week, we're going to add authentication to it. So the idea there is so that you can actually sign into your application, again, using Firebase. And then the week after, we're going to add, what do you call this? Firestore. So Firestore will be the database that we're going to use for storing information. And then after that, we're going to do the cool part where we're going to add some AI into it, where it can actually draft for you a cover letter and a CV, which is really cool. So that's going to be the last week. So the assumption that I have right now is that everyone did go through the email. They did do the installations if they're to install Node.js and what is the other one? VS Code, I think. Yeah. So that's what you're supposed to have, and that's what we're gonna assume that everyone did as part of the prep for today. So yeah, I think we can go for it. So the reason why we really doing these sessions, what we're noticing, especially with GDG, is that you have people with really cool ideas, and they building these ideas, and most people, of course, will be vibe coding all these ideas, which by the way, there's nothing wrong with, and I think it's actually a nice way to go about figuring out if something is worth being serious about or not. But the issue that we have is that once these guys start or these teams start getting users, it's really hard for them to actually understand how their project is growing, how it's built, and how the different components fit together. And what you really want to do with these sessions, just give everyone the foundation as to, like, this is how you can put together an application. This is how you can connect it to the DB. This is how you can implement auth, and this is how you can add really cool features to it, like AI, for example. And this is one way of building an application. There's many ways to do it. There's many frameworks out there. This is one way, and yeah, and this is the way that we think is the best way for anyone to learn. Because, well, in the industry, like I said earlier, Angular is used quite a lot, and it's kind of like the framework that software engineers in corporates actually go for. So that's why we chose to do Angular. But yeah, enough of my yapping. I think we can get to it. So obviously we all have the starter file. What you're going to see here is that your Angular application has different or a lot of files, actually. And you don't have to worry about these files because they get generated for you by the Angular tool. So you don't really have to care much about what goes in there as of yet. As you work on your project, you're going to learn about what each file does. And what you're going to see inside the app folder, there are 2 pages. Obviously, this is the starter. This is the starter file that I created for the series, where we have 2 pages. We have the dashboard page, where we're going to show our table of what do you call this? Jobs. Should we call it that? Yep. And then the other one is the home page, where as of now, I'm really not sure what you're going to add there. But just know that there's a home page. Maybe that's where we can do sign in, I think, and all the other authentication stuff. But yeah, that's for the coming weeks. And then you're going to have something called services. We're going to learn what services are, so no need to worry about these now. And then, of course, you're going to have models. And I think this is where we can actually start. But before we edit it, I just want to run this project, and I think it's npm start. Do I need to install anything? I'm going to install my node modules. Then I'm going to run npm start. So npm start. I hope this works. Oh, there we go. This recent VS Code release is really cool because it opens a browser inside the application. So I'll be using this feature a lot, but what I want to do is just split the view here. Let's see. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to have the browser on the right hand side, and then here we're going to have the code. So yeah, when you open it up or when you start it up, you're going to see the home page, of course. And you can go to the dashboard where you can see the jobs, and obviously you have your nav there at the top, where you can again navigate between the two pages. Where this is set up is right here. Where are you? I think it's app.html. Yes. So this is where the navigation is set up. This is standard HTML stuff, which we can jump to later. But for now, in the interest of time, I really want us to actually start going and adding features to this. So obviously, the most basic model that you're going to have. So a model is basically a data structure or a blueprint of a data structure that stores information about something. So in this case, we have something called a job, where we can store information about a specific job. So we're going to have the ID. So each job has an ID, so we can properly track it. It has a company, and there's a role, the role that you're applying for. There's a status, there's a date that you applied for it, and there's also notes. But I actually want us to change this a bit. So what you're going to do is what do you call this? Is track the changes that happen to the job. And what I mean by that is we're going to have something called a job status. So if I do something like this, so job status, and let's assume that we're only going to have these statuses for now. Where is my equal sign? Okay. I think these are the statuses we want. Yep. What we can add also is, what do you call this? Is we're going to come back to that. What we can add is the accepted status. So this is going to be accepted. So what you're going to have is new status. So this is when you've just created the job, when you've applied for the job, when you've interviewed, when you have gotten an offer, when you have been rejected, and then this one is when you have been accepted. We're going to come back to the errors now. Just give me a second. I just want to finish the status part. Okay, so now you're going to have a job status. So now you're going to have a job status. Once you have a job status, you want to track an update, like it's one specific update that happens to the job. So this one will be something like, what should we call it? Job update. So an update obviously needs a status, what the new status is. It's going to be job status. And then, sorry, it should be that. Since it's an interface, not an enum. And then when it was updated, so updated at, we're going to make it a date. So this is stored, the date is going to store the time, and why do you keep doing this? The time and the actual date of when this particular job was updated. Okay. So now coming to our job, we can say, let's separate these. We can keep the role there. I'm going to create a new section. We're going to call it job updates. So the idea here is to keep track of the updates that happen to this job. So job updates are going to be a job update, and then we're going to have an array of job updates. Okay. And then, I mean, most jobs have descriptions. So if you look on LinkedIn, you're going to have a job description. So that's going to be a string. And this is the part that we're going to do in week 4, where you can actually get the system and the AI to actually write for you a cover letter. So this is where we're going to store the generated cover letter. So I'm going to call it generated cover letter. That's the simplest name. Okay, and then let's also do a generated CV. Generated CV, I'm gonna make it a string. Let's make this optional because initially we won't have a generated cover letter or a generated CV. So initially these won't exist. So we're gonna make them optional, just so that they can be nullable or undefined. Okay, same as the ID, we won't have it initially. And to make our lives even easier here when it comes to filling in the form for submitting a job, let's make the company optional also. We're going to make the role also optional. We're going to learn later why we're doing that. Okay, and then we can keep these two. So we won't need this anymore. The notes, we can add this later. So for now, we can remove it. Okay, so that's what a job looks like. So there's these fields, and then we can keep track of all the changes that happened to it and when those changes happened. Okay, so we can know when we got the offer, when we applied, when we went for the interview. This is why we're keeping an array of job updates. Okay, so that's the job. The other part that we want to add, or the other model that we want to add, is your user. I think it's like a really standard model. So what you want to track here is obviously who the logged in user is, and most important to us is their CV. Obviously, since we're going to use AI to generate a tailored CV for your job application, and obviously a cover letter, we probably want to keep track of what do you call this? Of your generic or your main or standard CV. So this is where we're going to do that. So let's say you're going to have a CV, and initially you won't have a CV because you're going to have to load it into the system. So that's why it's optional. And then your CV or your user is going to have an email
Sorry,
also.
but Tandwa, to interrupt, man. Would you mind
Yes.
hitting Control Plus maybe once or twice just to enlarge the font a little bit?
Oh yeah. Thanks for that. Uh, why are you changing the other side? No. Okay, it's fine. I'll change the whole window. How's that?
Maybe one more time, Control Plus.
One
It's
more
not really the
time.
window; it's the font is very small
Yeah,
for
thing is
me.
I'm on a Mac and the Control Plus control is not
Or,
working
or
here.
Command Plus or something. Okay, but thank you. That is
Yeah.
a bit better. Thanks.
Okay. Maybe we can close this. Can keep it down here. Okay. So your user is going to have a CV and an email, and something really important, each user has an ID, and an ID is going to be a string. And because initially we will not know the ID of the user, we're going to say the ID is optional. Okay, so now we have a model. Sorry, we have two models. We have a job and we have a user. What we want to do is create a, what should I call it? Create a service that will allow us to, one, get the current user, um, and also be able to, or add another service that will allow us to post a job and get a list of all the jobs that have been posted against that user or have been posted by that user. Okay, so um, we can actually continue on this job service. This is what it looks like initially. So what we're going to do now, we're going to simulate like a database because we don't have a database yet. That's for week 3. And how we're going to do that is just have an array of jobs, and we're going to store our jobs in in memory, which we already have here. But I'm going to remove it for now because we're going to add these jobs ourselves. Okay. So we already have get jobs, but what we're going to do is make this a promise. And the idea there is so that we can call it without freezing the UI. So I'm going to make it a promise. I can simulate this. So we can say promise.resolve. Damn. Promise.resolve. Okay. This.jobs. Nope. This.jobs. And then you can add a job. This is also going to be a promise, but this one will return nothing. Ooh, actually, we can make it return something. I think we should. So it can return a job also. Okay, it's going to do that. I'm going to remove the push. I'm going to show you now. And then what you also want to do is, so obviously as you progress through a job, I think we should have another name for it, but we're going to call it a job. As you progress through it, you're going to make changes. For example, I've been accepted, or I've been asked to come do an interview, or I've been sent an offer. So what you want to be able to do is update the job status. So for a given job ID, you want to be able to update its status. I'm going to call this new status. The new status is going to be a job status. And obviously it's going to return a job, but then sometimes it's possible that the ID that we're requesting to update does not exist. Chances of that happening are almost zero, but it's possible. So while we're going to return a job, if the ID does not exist, you want to return undefined. Okay. As in, like, there is no job that you're trying to update. Okay. So now let's implement add job. So we can get the jobs, we can add the jobs, and we can update the job status. So what you're going to do is implement add job. So when we add a job, obviously this is the simulation of the DB. So we're going to say this dot jobs that push the job. Let's spread it out because we want to add the time as well as to when this job was added. So we're going to say add job. Let's give it an ID. So ID is going to be date dot now. Convert that to a string. Convert that to a string. And let's put in a company there. So remember we said the company is optional. So when we initially load the job, we don't provide those, right? So, and obviously the role also. So we're going to add them here since we are simulating that part. I hate the autocomplete here. So company, what should we call it? The most popular fake company. What? Okay. So that should be okay. Okay, so we're going to push a job, generate like a random ID for it, and then put in the
Bathandwa.
my mic was muted. Okay. Okay. So we're going to find the job. And once we have the job, obviously it's possible that the ID that we're searching for might not exist. So if we have the job, we want to do the actual status update. And because we have an array of statuses, what we're going to do is say job updates, nope, job updates. And we want to push an update to it. So this update is going to be, it was updated now. Let's say new date. That's when it was updated. And obviously the new status is going to be new status. Okay. Please let me know if I get muted again. I don't know how I got muted. I'm really worried that I might keep yapping and then no one hears me. But yeah, so we've got the job and we now updating a status. And because we found the job, we want to say that we found a job. So we're going to resolve with the job. Okay. And if there is no job, so obviously that's going to be the else part. We're going to say that we could not find a job with the given ID. And for now, we're just going to return undefined when that situation happens. Okay. So that is our job service. The other one that you want to implement is the user service. So remember, a service is where you put the logic that actually communicates with your backend. So in your components, which are the things that are here, so these are all your components. You just put the stuff that the user sees. So that's where you're gonna design your buttons and your text and all the nice stuff that the user will see. And then in your services, that's where you put the logic that actually communicates with your backend. So in this case, this is the service that we communicate with our jobs database or table, however you want to see it, right? And the service that I'm going to add now is the one that's going to communicate with our users database or users backend functionality. So I'm going to change that to 2 because I prefer 2. So what this one will have is it's also a service, and we're going to call it user service. User service, and because it's a service, Angular needs to be able to discover it so that you can actually pull it in or inject it into your components. So you're going to say it's an injectable so that we can actually inject it into components. Injectable provided in root. So this is the context from which is going to become available. So I'm going to say root, the context from which is going to become available. So any component or module below root will be able to discover the service, which is a good thing, right? So since we are simulating this part, again, we haven't integrated the DB yet. So we can assume that we have a, what do you want to say? We have a user that's already logged in, and they're going to have this CV. They're going to have this CV, let's say, or undefined. And nope, I don't want to set CV. Obviously, you want to be able to get the user. So you want to be able to get the currently logged in user. So you're going to say get user, and you're going to have your promise, which is going to return the user when the user is found, or it's going to return undefined, as in like there is no user that has logged in yet. Okay. I don't know if we want to do, what do you call this? Actually, I think we should. We're going to simulate like a slow API call to the backend to get the currently logged in user, or to get the JWT for the currently logged in user. So what I'm going to say here is we have a promise, and then the promise is nope, stop doing that. It's going to resolve with a set timeout. How long should it be? I'm going to make it 3 seconds. So you're going to resolve with the user, and the user is going to have a CV that is this.cv. Obviously, the CV that we have here. Let's import the user here. Okay. And then they're also going to have an email, and we're going to give them test@test.com for now. I think that's all that you want to give them. And then this is going to end. Let's, how long should it be? I think 3,000. 3,000 going to be 3 seconds. Okay. So when we get the currently logged in user, there might be some authentication logic that may need to happen. And then we're saying that the call can, or the call that we're simulating is going to take 3 seconds, and it's going to return the user eventually, which is this user. Okay. But now, if we have a logged in user, we also want to be able to update the CV for that logged in user, right? This is where we're going to say, for example, update user. I'm going to say new user, the user information, and again, because it's going to communicate with the backend, we're going to say it's a promise. This is a promise, and then you're going to say this dot CV. So the CV that we have here, sorry, nope. So the CV, that we have here is the one that we're going to update. Stop doing this. So you're going to say new user dot CV. Okay. And then obviously we're going to return a promise. Obviously this one will return nothing because we said void here. Okay. So remember, all of this is just us simulating backend calls. This will all go away once we integrate the DB, because it will do like an actual DB call here. Okay. So those are the two services. Now we can actually get to the more interesting part. But before we do that, let's fix the errors. Oh, okay. Anyways, never mind. It's actually where we're going. So the dashboard. Let's where's the error? This is the error. So let's remove it so we don't have to worry about it. Okay. Ooh. Okay, let's not remove it yet. We're gonna keep it there. Okay, so what you want to do now is, so remember I said the dashboard is where, so if you look at, for example, if you look at this this dashboard page here, this is where we're going to see all the roles that, yeah, basically all the jobs that we have loaded onto our system. And from here we should be able to update the status for a job, and we should be able to there was more functionality we're supposed to add here. Oh yeah, we should be able to update our CV. So from here you should be able to update your CV also. So what we're going to do, I don't think we're going to need this far, but we can keep it there. So we have a job, a jobs model. Yep. But we also want to be able to get the currently logged in user. We're not going to use that now, but just so I don't forget, I'm going to add it here. So here, so remember we made our users or our services injectable. Means that when we need to reference or use those services, we can just say inject those services because they are injectable. Okay. So that's the user service. Now we're going to just do this. Let's add our jobs. And then what you're going to do here is going to say this, the job service dot get jobs. And then it's going to give us the jobs that we have. But then remember now that this is a promise. I think in the starter file it wasn't a promise. So, but now it's a promise, meaning our HTML is going to be broken here, or our template is going to be broken. And what you want to do here is change this to async so that we can iterate through it. And obviously async, we need to import the async pipe. Import the async pipe, and it should be able to compile now. Oh, there is no status. Okay. So remember we removed, where are you? This part here. So I'm going to put dummy status. Status here. The status is going to go there. The applied date is not there also. So date here. So now if we preview this, we should be able to see the jobs that we have set. But because we did not add any dummy jobs, I think we should do that instead. Okay. This array here is empty. Let's add some jobs that we're going to start with. How do I generate fake data? This is going to be a long process. Company, role, job description. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, the AI helped. Give me another one. There we go. Yes. Okay. Okay, cool. We have some fake jobs in here. So now, if you come here, we can see our fake jobs, which means we can actually start adding the cool features that we want to add. So the first one we want to add is for us to be able to add a new job. And what we're going to do for that is, so now we have these jobs, right? But what you actually want to do is have a button maybe somewhere here that's going to say add a new job. And then it's going to show some, where can we have it? We are going to show text somewhere here, or a text input somewhere here, where you can actually put the job description. So if we come to the dashboard here, we want to change this to a container, and the container is going to have, I'm going to use section. The container obviously is going to have that, but then it's also going to have, oh, actually we need two of them. We need two of them because if we're showing the text input, we need to be able to cancel the input. But we also need to be able to track, how can I have two things open at the same time? There we go. Okay. We also need to be able to track the job that we're currently adding. So what I'm going to do is add something called edited job. And this is going to be a job. So it's optional. And how we're going to use this is if the user is adding a new job, this will be populated, and when they're not, it will be undefined, right? So what I mean by that is something like, what should we call it? Add job, or begin job edit. And what it's going to do is going to say edited job is equal to a job that we want to edit. So the company will be empty, the role will be empty, the job description will be empty, and the job updates will be empty. Okay, but then when we want to cancel, cancel job edit, we're just going to mark that as, what's the thing? We're just going to mark that as edited job as undefined. Okay, so which means now when we come here, we can do something like this. Then we're going to have a button. It's going to be two buttons. Okay, no. Let's put it inside an if statement so that if there is no edited job, these two buttons don't show. So if we have an edited job, this is an at. So if you have an edited job, we want to show these two buttons here. The first one will be to cancel. Sorry, the first one will be to cancel. That will be to cancel the job edit. And then the other one will be to, what do you call this? To save the job. So now you're editing your job, but once you've edited it, you want to be able to save it, right? Which means we need to be able to have something here that says save, save job. Okay, so we can do something like this, and then we can save the job. So if we don't have a job that we're editing, we want to have a button that says add job, and obviously it's going to have a begin job edit. If what do you call this? Click listener. Okay, so which means if I come here, obviously it's going to be messed up now because I haven't done any styling. I can see my add job. Oh, we need the text input. We need the text input. Where can we add the text input? Below this section here. So if if we have an edited job, we need to be able to show the text input that we have. I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. We're going to make it a text area. Okay. And then obviously we want to bind to not the company. We want to bind to the job description. To the job description of the edited job. But the the ng model field will not actually work unless we actually import the forms module so that we can actually do text inputs. Why don't you have a job description? Oh, sick. This is a spelling job description. Job description. Isn't this the same thing? Job description. Okay. So which means when I come here, this changes to job description. What is it complaining about? Okay, let's ignore that for now. We're gonna come back to it. Okay. Anyways, that's our text area. I think we should style the add button. So add a new job. We're gonna say it's a btn. So remember, we're using Bootstrap CSS. So just gonna give it color. Oh, it's coming back. Sick. Job.ts. Okay. So in the service, we forgot to update the name. Yep, there it is. So this changes and this also changes. Okay. So our button is styled, and let's put it next to the dashboard text. So I'm going to say, so that's going to put it next to it. Nope. Oh, actually we can put space in between them. Okay, I'm going to try to move fast because we're going to run out of time soon. Okay, so now you can see that we have an add button to the right hand side of the dashboard. And if you click on it, we have a text field where you can input the job description. And obviously we can also cancel the input. Okay, that's a good thing for us. But now let's try to style everything else so that they look pretty. The cancel button can actually be a warning button. Let's do this. Danger for red. Okay. So if I add, now we have a cancel. Let's give it a gap. I think we can have a gap somewhere here so that they're not touching each other like this. Gap is 2. And then, okay, there's a bit of a gap. The text input, let's also style it. So the text area, so we're going to say class, and we're going to say it's a form control. Give it some margin so that it doesn't touch the buttons here, and give it some margin too. Okay. And then maybe we can add something called a placeholder. So the placeholder is what's going to show. I'm going to show you where it shows. Please enter. Nope. Please enter the job description. This is where the placeholder shows. Okay. And now obviously you can start putting in the job. How do I please? And now obviously you can start typing in the job description here, and and then you should be able to save it once you've done, or once you're done. But something that we may want to do is make this a little bit taller. So I'm going to say rows. Let's give it 10 rows. Okay, so now you can add in your job, type in the description here, cancel, and you should be able to save. Okay, save doesn't work. Let's implement save quickly. Where is my view model? Okay, here's my view model. So when we save it, obviously we're going to say job service dot add the job, and then the edited job is going to be undefined, right? So which means we're going to add the job, and then we're going to clear the editing of a new job. But then what we want to do also is fetch the new list of jobs, right? There's different ways to do refreshes after adding something, but this is one way. So now we're going to fetch the new list of jobs, and that's going to be shown here. In fact, to make our life even easier, let's add a let's add an if statement somewhere here. Okay. So if we still we might have to come back to this, but if we're still loading the jobs, what you're going to do is show some text that says loading. That way the user doesn't see an empty screen while we're still fetching the jobs. Okay, so now if we do something like this, put in the job description, you can save it, and then it's going to show up here. Makes sense? Okay, so I can do that, put in the job description, I can save it. Okay, so remember, once the DB is integrated, all of this will go to the DB, so it will not be in memory. Okay, but that part is working. We can do something similar for viewing the details of jobs, as well as what's the other one? I think we said viewing the details, as well as editing the CV for the user, right? So follow the same pattern. So what we're going to say is um, viewed job. Viewed job is going to be a job. So this will be the job that we're viewing the details for. So this is where we're going to see the CV, the cover letter, and all the other information that we may not see on the table regarding a specific job. Okay, and the other one is going to be edited user. So this is where the user will be able to what do you call this, to edit their cover letter. And the reason why I'm making it a promise, why are you doing that? The reason why I'm making it a promise is because, unlike the edited job and the viewed job, when we click the add button or click on a row here to view the details, that information does not need to be fetched from the backend, right? There is no slowness that is expected. Whereas for the edited user, we need to go to the backend, fetch the current user and their CV, and then display that information. So if you make it a promise, we will be able to show things like loading indicators, right? And that's what I want to do here. That's why I'm using a promise instead. Okay, but again, following the same pattern, we're going to say where should we edit? So let's put the user stuff here. We're going to say edit user, which is going to start a new user edit. And obviously when we edit the user, we want to get the current user, right? So edited user, we have to fetch the current user from the user service. Once we have the user though, we then want to take that user and set it as the current user. Otherwise, we're going to initiate a new user or start a new user. Okay, so there's something like this. So if we have a user, we're going to return that user as in like our edited user will be that user. Otherwise, we're going to say that we're going to create an empty user. This situation will not happen once you have auth. So we're just adding it now since we don't have auth yet. Okay, that should work. What am I missing? There we go. Okay, so edit user, and then same pattern. So edit user, you should be able to cancel the user edit. Oh, nice name. Cancel user edit. And if we cancel the user edit, obviously we're going to say that this dot edited user is equal to undefined. Okay. So now we can cancel the user edit. We should be able to also save the user that we have edited. So I'm going to say user this dot user service dot update user, set that to the user, and this dot edited user obviously needs to be cleared. What do you call this? Needs to be cleared afterwards. Okay. So same pattern for viewing the job details. We need to begin viewing job details. So what you're going to say is, oh no. Okay, begin job view. Let's call it that. But now since we're dealing with a table, there's multiple jobs we may need to view the details for. So we want to be able to reference a specific one. So this dot viewed job is equal to that job. We want to be able to cancel after that. Close close job details, and obviously that's going to say this dot viewed job. Why are you not in proper naming? Viewed job. There we go. Okay. So this dot viewed job is equal to undefined to cancel the job details view. But now that I'm thinking about it, what we can do to make this even better, we can combine this two into one function. Let's say toggle details, and you're going to take the job. Yeah, we're going to take the job, and if we are viewing a job, this dot view job is equal to that. If the job we're viewing is the job that the user clicked on again, we then want to cancel the job, right? Or the viewing of the details. Else we want to view the details of this job that they've passed. So this dot viewed job is equal to that job. Okay. So now we also want to add something to allow us to update the job statuses, or the status of a job, and update job status. No idea what that is. Update the job status, and it's gonna take the job that we want to update the status for, and it's going to take in the new status, which is going to be the job status, and it's going to set the status of this job into, or it's going to set the latest status of this job to this new status, right? And because we're dealing with promises, we have to do this thing. The job service dot update job status. Yeah, so we're calling basically the method that we created in the service, and then we have to I'm not sure if we just reload the list of jobs, because what we can do is something like this, or job updates. We want to push the new update, which is this one here. Okay. Okay. The other thing that I say we can add is, so if we have a job and the job has a list of updates, we want to get the latest update, right? Latest job update. So we're going to take the job, and that's going to be our job. Why get latest job update? We're almost done, guys. Almost. So this is to get the latest job update. So we're going to take the job update is what we're going to return here. If there's nothing, it's okay. We're going to get back to that. So let's import this. Okay. Okay, that works. Okay. So what you're doing here, we're basically looping through all the job updates, and or rather, we keep selecting the one that has the latest update, right? So the one that has the latest update is the one is basically the latest update. Okay, I hope that makes sense. So that's our view model, and I think our view model is done. So what you can focus on now is completing this part here. Okay, so we got the dashboard, we got the edited job. So remember, we're following the same pattern as the editing of the job for the user, what should we call it, for the user CV update, as well as for viewing of specific job details. So so what you can do, uh, else if they are editing their CV, edited user, we can do something like this. Same buttons as before. Ooh, let's take the whole section. Same buttons as before. The gap in between, but you want to change. Oh, thank you. We want to change this to the cancel action and the save user action. Let's do this. Where is save user? Save user should not take in a user because we already know which user we're editing, right? So it's just an edited user. Promise void. Okay. That's okay. So what we can do is, okay, I'm gonna do it here. So this dot edited user, dot then user, and you're gonna move all of this stuff in there. Okay, so this is then going to change to user. And if there is no user, we want to be able to ignore the save. Okay, which means this part here doesn't have that. Okay, so this is the cancel action, and then this one is the cancel, and this is the primary action. Okay, so that's for editing the user. So that's when they can edit their CV. But what I think we should do for the default state, so this is the state here, is add another button. In fact, let's do this, another section. Oh, we'll just copy this section. Oh, it's fine. We can add a section, put this button here, and what you want to do here is say you want to be able to edit your CV. Edit CV. Okay, so edit CV, and what color should you give this one? Let's give it a secondary color. Okay, gap in between. I'm gonna give it a gap of 2. Okay. Nope. So here, so remember, it's the same pattern that we're following for all of them. So this one will be begin CV edit. What did we call it? Oh, begin user edit. I think that's what we call. Nope, that's not what we called it. What did we call it? Edit user. Edit user. There we go. So I'm going to put it here. So edit the user. So what's going to happen? Okay, we haven't edited the edit user yet. The edit user flow, so it's not going to do anything. And you can cancel. Okay. Edit user and cancel. Okay, now you can edit job and you can cancel. Okay. It's coming together. Now, what you want to do is get to this table part here. The table should be inside an if statement because it should only show when we're not doing anything else, right? So what I would say here is, let's do something like that. And then we still have to show the edited details. Okay, we're going to come back to that. Let's do that. And then if we're not showing anything else, only then we show the table. Okay, only then we show the table. That can move up. So let's start with the edited user. So if you're editing a user, do you want a text area? I don't know. Let's see. Oh, we do want a text area. But the user is in a promise, so this is not going to work. Let's do something like this. So if we have an edited user, remember it's in a promise, so we're going to do it like that. As user, then we can do this, and then only we can show the text area. Okay, and then we can show the text area. I'm not going to give it a name, just going to give it a class. It's going to be a form control. Same as before, margin top is 2. In fact, we can copy the same one we have there, but it's fine. How many rows should we give it? Okay, let's give it 10 rows. And it's going to take the user CV, so it's going to modify the user CV, and then please enter your CV. That's what we want. Okay, and if the user is still loading, what we can say is loading. Okay, so that's when we're editing a user. The other situation is when we actually want to view job details. That's a lot. I don't want that. And I think to make our life a lot easier here, let's just copy this. Updated at change. So it's going to show so the table is going to show the company, the role, the status, and the updated at. The updated at, and then let's take this whole thing here. I'm thinking before we do that, so we're going to show the role, we're going to show the status. So we're going to show the status here. And remember we said for the status, we're going to say get latest job update and then get the status. So get latest job update, that's going to give us the latest update for the specific job. And then we're going to pull the status of that job update, right? And then the date is going to say get latest job update, and it's going to pull the date for the date part for that status update. But I actually like to say medium here. You can play around with the options, but I prefer the medium form of the date formatting. And obviously, to use the date formatter, you need. I'm going to decline this call. Okay, almost there, running a bit over time. So to use a date pipe, you need to import the date pipe. So that's going to give us the date pipe, and then once we have the date pipe, we should be able to. Did I save? We should be able to format dates. Okay, so we can see the latest status. We can also see the date. We almost there. Okay, so that's the table part. For the last 2 columns. And what I was trying to get to is us actually just copying this for the details. Come on. Just copying this and putting it here. So take the table and then just put it here. So you're going to have your company, you're going to have your role, and all these other details. But what we want to do there also is instead we want to show the details of the viewed job, right? So this, okay, so this will go away. Empty will no longer be there. This will move back a bit. This will move back a bit, and then this part becomes the viewed job. Okay. Viewed job, viewed job, viewed job. Okay. And what we can do then is, if we say we need a table row, we can make this click. So when you click on it, you want to toggle the table details. So click toggle, nope, toggle the job details. I don't want these other parts here, whatever this is. Okay, so remember we already have a toggle method somewhere here. Okay, so we're going to copy the same thing to the one here at the top. We need the table row. What do you mean I missed jobs? 44. Oh yeah, viewed. So this will change to viewed job. Okay. Okay. So now we should be able to click on it to view the specific one, and then we should be able to click on it to cancel the viewing of a specific one. So the last part, or the second last part, is we're running a bit over time, but we're almost there. The second last part is for us to see the other details of a, what do you call this, of a specific job. But that part is the easiest one. What we can actually do is do the edit CV part, and then we can call it there for the day. Then we can focus on questions, and then I will do I will wrap up the details part with whoever is staying behind, and then we're just gonna zip it and then send it to everyone at the end. And yeah, and then they can just have a look. So we can do the edit CV part. So edit CV is so loading the CV. Hey, why are you taking forever? Oh, there we go. I think it's done. So I'm going to type in my CV. I'm going to save my CV. And if I edit my CV again, I should see the same CV. Okay. Yep. Okay. So the last part that's missing is the details part. But I'm a bit worried that we're going a bit over time, and we might not have time for anyone to ask questions and things like that. So let's focus on that. Sam, I think you control the mics. And then if anyone else wants to stay behind for like an extra 10 minutes, we can then wrap up the details part. When you click on a specific role, you can see the details for that role, and then obviously your generated cover letter and CV. And yeah, that's the angular part of what you're doing. I think you can focus on the questions. Yeah. Michelle, Sam.
Does anybody have any questions? Please raise your hand.
Oh, there's people who want to present. Nope, I don't think we can allow that. You're gonna be arrested.
But Tandwa, thanks, man. It was amazing how you flew through everything. But one thing that I feel, sorry about the dogs there, is maybe missing. I don't think we've covered much on delete, just to complete the CRUD. You've got read, update.
Ooh, yeah. I, I see what you're saying. That's actually a smart one to add, where you can actually remove certain jobs from the list.
Maybe homework for us to do.
Mm, yeah, I mean, it's a nice exercise.
Okay, please explain for the people in the back.
Um, so
Could I have a step?
Homework. Can you just hold on a sec? Sorry, Douglas.
Yeah.
Batanda, please just confirm what the homework is, so that we can also channel it into the WhatsApp if that's
yes,
homework. While you think of that, maybe we can put it in the channel, and then we can give Karabo a chance as well.
yeah.
Karabo has their hand up.
Okay. So what Douglas suggested is that since you can now you can add a job by entering the job description, obviously. And what I'm going to show you now, just after the questions, is how to update the status via the details that you're going to be showing when you click on a role. So what Douglas is suggesting is that we have maybe like a button somewhere here that says you want to remove this job from the list, or to say you're no longer interested in following this job. So that's basically to get it out of this list. I think that's a nice exercise to for anyone to just try tonight, and then we can continue, or not even tonight because we have the whole week. Tomorrow or whenever, then we can come back next week and just continue from there. Basically, some functionality to delete from this list, to remove a job from this list.
Okay, Karabo, your question, please.
Hi everyone. So, so I just wanted to ask. So here on your code editor, I see that you have a dashboard HTML. So, I want to understand in terms of like components. So, do you reference this dashboard HTML to another component, a root component, or something like that?
Yeah. That's actually a nice question. So when the application starts, right, what you're going to see, what is it called? I think it's app.ts. Um, and the app.ts is indexed here, right? So when the application starts, what Angular needs is a root component, right? Basically what you're saying. And that root component is the app component. So if you go to the app component, it's going to look like a normal component. But what you're going to see if you go to the HTML part for that app component is that it references those other components that it actually wants to be inside it. And it does this through routes, so Angular routes. And how Angular routes are controlled is if you have, so if you can see here, you have your URL, and this part here is the path that you want to access, right? So through Angular routes, you're able to say if the path is / dashboard, show another component. If it's / nothing, show a different component. And that part is controlled through something called app.routes. So in app.routes, you're able to say if the path is dashboard, show the dashboard component. And if the path is nothing, show the home component. And if someone enters a path that doesn't exist, let's say something like this, so a path that doesn't exist, um, default them to uh, the nothing path, which will load the home component, which is indeed what we see here. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir.
You're welcome, sir.
Can you
Thank you.
chat?
Yeah.
Sean is asking, how do you structure AI projects so components are reusable across multiple products?
Yeah, that's a valid question. I would say it depends, eh? To be honest, it depends. There's 1,000 ways to do things. But what some people do, um, for example, the project that we use, what we do is create a package, like an npm package, um, And in that package, we will define all the building blocks of our application. So your building blocks will be your buttons, your layouts, what tables look like, basically the components, right? The components that make up your application. And those building blocks then will be bundled into the npm package. And then in your main project, you would install those npm package or that npm package. And then you're going to be able to reference those components inside your main app components. But the thing there is that you need to set up your, I don't know what agents you use, but I think for Copilot, you need to set up an instructions file, and then you need to tell it that we use this npm package for these building blocks, and these are how the building blocks work, right? And it's going to use that instructions file to then be able to use the components that you used or that you built into your npm package. And obviously, since it's an npm package, you should be able to import it into any project that you work on, which is quite cool, because if you're building an app for mobile, you're building it for web, or you're building it for desktop also, they're all going to look the same because they're building on top of the same components. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much, Batandwa. I think the only other thing that we have is people were asking about the video. Guys, we'll send you the link to the video. You should receive it by Friday, okay? Probably sooner. We'll make sure that we send an email to everybody, and we're also going to post it on the WhatsApp group, just in case some people joined without registration, so that they don't miss out and then they can catch up. But then the WhatsApp group is for people to ask questions who are stuck.
Yeah.
Also, if you're someone who's more seasoned, don't be shy. The whole point of the group is to create interaction so that other people can learn from you as well. So please do post your questions in the group. The name of the group, we've named it codelabs Assist. So that is where we'll basically have communication offline. So much for everybody joining. We look forward to seeing you again next week. Thank you, Batandwa, for your time.
You're welcome. We're still going to wrap up for those who are staying behind. We're still going to just do the details part so that you don't have to deal with it next week, so we can focus on the other stuff next week.
Okay.
Yeah, but the video will be shared for those who have to leave now. It should take like less than 10 minutes. Okay, should I go for it, Michelle, or there's still more stuff you want to add? Okay, I think that's it. Okay. Okay. So for the details part, what you want to do is to show the details when someone clicks on a job. If you have questions now, you can just raise your hands and we'll allow you to speak. Okay, back to the dashboard.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt there, Batandwa.
Yes,
I
sir.
think you've been having some network issues, because there were times when we lost you during the presentation. And my suggestion in the chat was maybe if you cut your video, I don't know if you are compiled, to have it on. It might just help bandwidth maybe on your end, that we don't lose you, because there was a time where we lost your audio completely.
Yeah. Okay, fair. I've switched off the
Okay,
video.
but that's it, man. I just thought I'd suggest that.
Okay, no, that's cool. Thank you. Yeah, let's just finish this one. We're almost there. So this is when we view the details, right? So we use the viewed job to track which job we're viewing. So the first thing we probably want to show is the statuses. I think you can show that under heading call status. status, and let's add something like an HR, which is like a horizontal rule, just so we have an underline just below the heading here, right? It's recommended that you use CSS to add your underlines, but in the interest of time, we're just going to take the lazy way out and just add the HR there. Okay. Now we want to be able to show the statuses that are possible, and then we want to allow the user to switch between those statuses for the role that they've selected to update, right? And just trying to think how we can do the statuses, as in like how we can get all the statuses since we're using enum. One way is, where is my view model? Right here. So one way is to add a function called, or a method called get statuses. Let's make this bigger. Okay, we're going to say get statuses. And what this is going to do is just going to return all the statuses that we have in our enum. So that's going to be object.values get the status, right? So which means that when we want to show the user the different statuses that are possible, we can do something like a for loop. So like a for, so something like a for. Nope. Why are you doing that? Why are you doing that? Okay. Okay. For every status of our get statuses. Nope. I don't want a button. I wish I knew how to disable this autocomplete. We're going to track the status because the status will be a string, so that's okay. And what we're going to do is use a what is this thing called? A radio button, right? So in Bootstrap, obviously there's different ways to do it, but this is one way. I think it's a way that they use on their website also to have radio buttons. So we're going to say if we have an input, the input is not going to be text. The input is going to be a radio button, and the input is going to be there. I'm going to give it some styling. Form check input. There's no need for a name. Ooh, maybe we can give it a name. Oh, I don't like this. Okay. So the name we can give it maybe is status radio options. Status radio options. We're supposed to have a label for it also. Let's add the label here. So the label will be for, we don't have a name for it. We don't have a name. Let's use an ID. So you're going to say an ID, or the ID of this checkbox is going to be, not checkbox, the radio button. It's going to be radio. And then we can use the status itself to complete the ID. Come on. And then, which means here, then we can reference it this way for this input here. Okay. And we can give the label a class. It's going to be the same thing, but now we're going to say it's a label, right? Should we give it a status? I think we should. So now that's what it's going to display. So if I click on it, I should be able to see my different statuses, right? And I should be able to update, and it should reflect. It should reflect here. It's not doing that, which means we need to have a click listener on the radio button, such that we can actually determine when it changes and update the job status accordingly. Okay, so view job and then pass the the new status. But then, so since each job already has a status, we want to be able to say if the job status is applied, then applied should be the one that's selected here, right? So we can use this. So checked. So checked is equal to. So we're gonna come on. We're gonna get the latest job update, and if the status of the latest job update, nope, is the same as the status that we're viewing now, and then it's going to be able to select it, right? Okay. So if I come to the front end developer, I see that it says interview and it says interview here. Okay. So what we want to do is be able to listen for the changes, which we've already done here. So if I say new, it changes to new. If I say interview, it changes to interview. If I say rejected, it changes to rejected. Okay. But I don't like this list view. Let's change it to something like in one line. From check in line. So that's going to put everything in one line, which means if I do this, I should now be able to switch between the statuses and update my job status accordingly. Okay, that's good for us. Which means if I close this, it's updated. If I change to accepted and I close this one is accepted and this one is still an interview. Okay. Okay, so that's that. Two more details to add. And the most important detail, of course, is going to be the job description.
Sorry, just before you move on, how does the close work?
Yes. How does the close work? So remember when we added this table here, right? We added a toggle details. So if we're viewing the table like this, and then we click here, it's going to update the viewed job and set it to the job that you selected. And then if you select it again, if we go up a bit, there's another table here, which is this table when we're viewing a specific job. When we click on it again, it's going to call the same toggle method, but this time since viewed job is set, it's going to be unset, meaning it's going to take us back to this one. So it's toggling between two
Okay,
tables,
cool.
basically.
Yeah, on and off. Thank you.
Yep, on and off. There's different ways to do these what do you call it?
Yes, display
These
and
these on and off displays or states. Most people use booleans. That's the most obvious way. I hate booleans. I don't like booleans. So I always try to avoid booleans. I would rather say something is null if it's not there than to have a boolean that tracks whether or not it's there. But that's just me. Yep. So we want to add the job description. So the job description is what you want to add. Oh, thank you. It's giving it to me. Nope, I didn't select it. There we go. Similar to the other one, let's add an HR there. So now if I click on it, I should be able to see the job description that I selected. We need a margin top there. So this bit of space is 2 enough. Make it 3. Okay, so that there's a bit of space between the job description and what we see here. Okay, the last two that are missing are the CV and the cover letter, right? That's going to be the last two, and then the details should be completed. I'm going to say cover letter. Do you want to add a margin top? I don't think we do. It's going to have an HR. So for now, we're going to show it like this. Viewed job dot generated cover letter. Do the same thing for the CV. CV. It's going to be an HR. And then obviously, come on. Oh, they stopped working now. I have to type it out. Viewed job dot generated CV. Okay. Oh, property viewed job dot generated CV generated. Okay. So let's do something more cool here. If it's not there, we're gonna say no cover letter generated yet. And then if there's no CV, we're gonna say no CV generated yet. Okay, that completes the details. If I do this now, so I click on a role, I can see its current status. I can update the status accordingly. And then I can view the job description that I pasted earlier. And then if I have, where's my CV? Generated CV, view job, generated CV. Yep, that's why. This one is supposed to come here, and this one is supposed to move down. No, this one is supposed to move down to the CV, which means I can now see that there's no CV generated, and that's it. There's one more thing that we probably want to do though. So remember the cover letter and the CV are going to be generated using an LLM. And what the LLM is going to give us is actually Markdown. And what I think we should do is instead format this this content here. Format this content such that the Markdown can be displayed, right? It might not make sense now, but you're going to see it when you actually generate the CVs, what the Markdown actually looks like. I did have the module or the library you want to use for the Markdown. Just to show you what I mean by this. If I say, for example, if I change this to the LLM will give you something like this, right? And then this is how it's going to show up on your front end. But this is actually an H3 and it's supposed to show up as a heading and not with the hashes. So we want to do some formatting on the Markdown that you're going to get back from the LLM, such that this is actually displayed as Markdown with proper formatting. I had it in my notes. The library we're supposed to use, yeah. So it's ngx bootstrap. So so if I say npm I npm install ngx not ngx bootstrap, ngx markdown. So it's going to pull the ngx markdown module or npm package, and it's going to install it into our project, which means we should now be able to so that's done. So now we should be able to render markdown in our application. But to do that, we need to import. I feel like there's something else we need to do. Okay. Markdown module is deprecated, but this is the only way I know how to add it. There's one more thing we need to do. So if you go to, is it app config? Yes. So if you go to app config, this is where you provide components and injectables from other modules into your application. So what you want to do here is make available the markdown components. So you're going to say provide markdown. So this is app.config.ts, which means now we should be able to use what do you call this, markdown within our component. And how you can do this is quite simple. So you just change this part to markdown. You're gonna have to copy this, obviously, to close it here, and then this goes away. this goes away, and it's going to become, it's going to be inside something called a data field or a data attribute, which means you can do something like this. So that goes away, and that goes away. So the results should still be the same. So if I view my cover letter, we should still see develop and maintain web applications. I'm going to show you now. In fact, let's do it now. But now, if I change this to an H3, which is what our LLM is going to give us, it now renders properly as a heading. I hope that makes sense. If we do more formatting, let's say we do, let's add something like this. Where's my backtick? If we add a backtick, it's now going to render as a backtick, right? So now your component is able to prettify the content that your LLM is going to generate for your cover letter and your CV, which is good for us. That's what we want anyways. So now we can do the same thing for the CV. So if I take the markdown here and I put this one here, and then we put this one here. So this is going to move to the data attribute. Okay, and okay, it looks the same, but now we have beautiful formatting as part of Markdown. So if I change this to a star, for example, so this should make it bold. So if I come here, oh, it makes it in italics. I think bold is double star. So if I do double star, now it should be bold, and it is bold, which is good for us. Okay, so now we're able to actually display the LLM and the CV and cover letter that our LLM will generate. And that's it, guys. That's it. I'm gonna zip this up, and the team will be able to forward you all of this, and you should be able to run it locally. And obviously feel free to ask questions on the group if something doesn't make sense, or if you get stuck anyway. And yeah, and just please remember to play around with adding a delete button so that you can actually delete the role that you added if you're no longer interested in it. Okay, and if you feel like your pipeline needs more statuses, so remember these statuses come from your model here. If you feel like if you have a different pipeline for how you apply to jobs, for example, there's another step here or another status that you want to add, you can just add it here and it's going to reflect here, and you should be okay. Cool. That is that. Sam, I think we can call it.
Sure, but Tandwa, thanks a lot, man. That was a mouthful. Drink from the fire hose, me, bro. But
It was a lot.
no,
yeah.
Thank you so much, Batandwa. Thank you to everyone that joined in. I'm going to stop the recording now.
Yep.
Please tune in next week, and we will share the recording as promised. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks.